Greetings, everyone. Tim Anderson here, aka Renfell, and welcome to the latest episode of the Project Dramond series, where we talk about all the things going on with the tabletop game, the adventure game, and the novel being created for this brand new adventure. Now, today, the episode is all about the elves, or the description of the elves, because we have a lot of different elves, and we're dealing with some archetypes from different source materials, because we're not dealing with your traditional elves that you would see in, say, Dungeons and Dragons or similar fantasy tales. So, if you want to know more information about the elves, of course, don't forget to check out the Patreon post that's linked below, which is over on our Patreon page for subscribers, because that's got all the juicy details beyond what I'm going to be talking about in this short little video. Let me take a sip of my coffee here. And for those of you who are sitting here going, what the hell is Project Dramond? I'm not going to do any more intros in these because it takes up like a minute and a half of time, so I'd say check out the links below to the Patreon page. There's an overview there which gives you all the information, and there's a Project Dramond playlist here on YouTube that you can check out. So make sure to check that out as well. If you like what you see today, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you get updates for all the other stuff we do on the channel, and stick around because we got lots of fun stuff coming in the pipeline. So without further ado, let's talk about elves today, specifically the elves in Project Dramond. Now, when I started looking at source material, I knew from the beginning that I didn't want to do your traditional kind of wood elf, high elf, dark elf trilogy. Now, that's not to say we don't have wood elves and high elves. We do. But we don't have dark elves, and our elves are a little different than what you would find in traditional. So, one of the first places I looked when I was writing the Saga of Leucemia book, Echoes of the Past, my primary source of inspiration for the elves was Tad Williams and his Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series. I felt that his version of the elves were very unique, especially because they had split off from each other because of this kind of internal civil war. And, one side was kind of content to just let the humans continue, but live apart from them. And then the other side said, no, we don't want humans. We want to get rid of humans. And they eventually went off and lived somewhere else. So I really liked that idea. And so I kind of took the inspiration for that and did that in the Saga of Leucemia with the Elenhai and the Eldenai. Now I'm doing the same thing here, but on a different scale now. I've taken that same core idea, and we kind of have this situation where all elves were eventually, excuse me, not eventually, all elves were at one point in time part of the same racial structure. And then because of things that happened with the humans and this internal civil war between the elves, everybody split off, and there eventually became four different groups of elves. So we're dealing with high elves, ice elves, wood elves, and sea elves. And they're all kind of sub branches of each other. I don't want to give too much away because, Patreon posts and all that good stuff. But that's basically the core of what we're working with is the idea that once upon a time, all the elves came from one place. Things happened. They split off. There hasn't really been any contact between the groups for a very long time. And for the most part, you have a couple of groups that live kind of off in their own space, and humans haven't seen or interacted with them for thousands of years. And on the other side of the continent, you have a couple of groups of elves that have maintained contact with the humans, and for the most part are commonplace, at least in that part of the country. And then all throughout the southern realms, because you can check out the map I've been doing over on TikTok or here on YouTube, and also on Discord. I've been sharing screenshots of the map. The wood elves are down. Wood elves and sea elves, excuse me, are down in the southeast, and then most of the humans' kingdoms are all within the south and going up into the southwest. And so down there, it's commonplace to see elves. They're kind of not necessarily integrated into human society, but they have their settlements. They exist within human settlements. Some of them even live within the cities. I wouldn't say that they have, at least at this point, based on the notes that we're going off of so far, they haven't yet created like, it's not like you have, how like a Chinatown, or I remember in like in Chicago, there's a big Bulgarian section, and most places have a Latino section. It's not like in big cities where you have a huge section dedicated to the wood elves, per se. But you'll definitely find like maybe the random shopkeeper is an elf. Maybe a family of elves who lived down on the docks, who came, their father came here years ago, married a human, um, and so you've got little half elf kids running around. There are things like that which exist. But there's a lot that's going on, and there's a lot to unpack with the elves. If I had to say the one storyline that's probably going to take the longest to write in terms of the core rule book and the history of the world, it's the elven history, because we're dealing with, obviously the dwarves have been around just as long, but the dwarves are not nearly as complex in terms of there being like four different groups of elves and how they all splintered off from each other, and how that all happened. So um, we'll be doing more on that, of course, later on. There'll be a post about the Elven Civil War. There's going to be a post about what started the Elven Civil War, and that's a whole nother subject in and of itself, related to the humans coming up from the south after the Quantum Wars. And this time around, I'm dealing with blending technology with magic in a very interesting way. So the world, even though it's kind of high fantasy, dealing with a lot of magic, and the elves are a part of that magic, you're going to see the humans and their background coming from science and technology, specifically quantum technology, and seeing how that interacts with the world and where they live today, and how that affects the elves, and how that has affected the elves over the course of their evolution from the dawn of time. So hopefully that all interests you. If it does interest you, don't forget to check out the Patreon post below, which has some juicy details about the elves. It's basically the beginning descriptions for all of the various branches. And for those of you who have access to the Google Doc as a nice fun reward for being subscribers, you can go check out the Google Doc as well, because there's a lot more information in the Google Doc, because we only share snippets in the Patreon post. So check all that out. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon so that you get updates when we go live with new content. And check out all the other stuff I do here on YouTube, because there's a lot of different stuff. Also, don't forget to check out the TikTok below, because that's where we post pretty much daily updates on what we're working on with Project Dramond, whether it's work from me, work from my wife Chris on concept art. My brother shares things on his TikTok as well, which I share out with people on Discord. So don't forget to join the Discord as well. Links are below. See everybody in the next episode. Have a good day.